The best shot Republicans have at taking back any control in Colorado state legislature is through redistricting, reworking the map. Today, Republicans did not get great news. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger looks at why the newest maps would take a lot of suspense out of election night.
When it comes to voting for who represents you at the state capitol, there are just a handful of the 65 House districts and 35 Senate districts that are competitive. Based on voter registration numbers, we can pretty much guess which districts will pick a Republican and which will elect a Democrat.
The motivation behind at least attempting to draw competitive districts is just the realization that it's better. It's better when one party can't just, take for granted a certain district, knowing that they're going to win it no matter what happens.
The way Colorado's maps are currently drawn, and this is a bit subjective, there are around 9 competitive House seats and 4 competitive Senate seats. Under the new maps released today, taking into account census data and public feedback, there are still 9 competitive House seats and 5 in the Senate, according to Ryan Winger, who crunches data for conservative-leaning Magellan Strategies in Louisville.
There's only certain things you can do. There's certain parts of the state, whether it's downtown Denver or whether it's areas on the western slope where you're not going to be able to draw a competitive district no matter how much you try to.
Our friends at the Colorado Sun put together a heat map to show where the competitive districts exist. Those are the ones in white. The deep red colored, you can assume a Republican will be elected. The deep blue, a Democrat. But it's the white areas that show where the competition could be in 2022. And those districts were around Jefferson County, and depending how you look at the maps, also a portion of Arapahoe and Adams County. The disclaimer here, Kyle, is we have to repeat on these stories, this map is a draft. It will most likely change based on additional feedback from the public and the independent commission responsible for the final version of the map.
One thing not taken into account in those maps, Marshall, is whether they are taking people who are currently in office and forcing them into cage matches with one another.
Right. There are people who have been elected, for example, in the Senate. Kevin Priola and Dominic Moreno both represent their own district through 2024. And I believe this version of the map still has them in the same district. And that would take effect in 2022. So how do you kick someone out who won an election that has them in office through 2024? At some point, you're going to have to take a closer look and do something where you perhaps don't push out an incumbent who's got more years to serve.
And for the real political nerds who like to follow these musical chairs, Kevin Priola could decide to run as the Republican candidate for the newly created 8th congressional district in Colorado, and that would certainly solve that problem.
That'll be the next candidate affidavit I will search for, like I did on Friday with the Colorado governor's race.
Yeah, if you missed Friday, you missed Marshall figuring out that Republicans have their candidate for governor who, we're not supposed to say Heidi Ganahl because she hasn't announced it yet, but they let it slip on the internets. Thank you, Marshall.